All right, so for the assignment, you should have already had this code in your programs. Let me actually move this over so I can see. Oh, that's way better. So this code should be in your program already. You should have had commentary on all of these different lines here. And then for this line right here, you're supposed to insert a variable assignment for guess that allows the user to take in some input. Is there anyone who has that code who wants to tell us what that looks like? I cannot tell if people are hearing me or not.
Did we have to do that like regardless if we did code combat
This
or
is only for the people who are in Blackbeard's bootcamp, which is why I guess it makes sense that you have no idea what we're doing. Agil, if you hear me, this is the only one this actually applies to. How will we put in an input here for guess?
All right, so for guess, we would do guess is equal to int, and between those parentheses, we would put input, and within those parentheses, we would put what is your guess, or what's the number?
Something like guess the number, right? Cool. Once we have that, it allows us to run this program, and then it'll ask us this question, guess the number. So normally when we get an input from the user, it comes in as a string, but this int function right here converts that to an integer value, so we can guess our numbers. I don't actually know what the number is. It looks like the number was 1. The point of today's assignment is to add these conditionals at the end that allow the user to get a better understanding of, let me move this over a little bit, to get a better understanding of where their guess is exactly. So it'll look something like, if you come under here, Adita and Vanessa, even though you guys aren't in Blackbeard's bootcamp, you should be able to tell me what is a conditional statement that I would use for if guess is less than number. How would I write that?
You would do else, right?
So before you go, which one comes first, the if or the else?
The if.
There you go.
Yeah.
So
you
before
would
I
use
can
the
say,
if else statement.
there you go. So what is the key word for an if statement?
Start with if.
There you go. It's not a trick question. I'm just making sure you guys understand. So I would say if, and remember we're checking our guess. And if I want to say less than, which symbol would I use?
Less than symbol.
Yeah, pretty straightforward. If it's less than my number, what symbol goes after this statement, by the way? Does anyone know what that syntax is?
Hold on a second.
What is it?
Yeah.
I forgot the name of the 2 dots. I think it's the 2 dots. Though.
It is the 2 dots. You're right. It's not a semicolon. It is a
colon.
There we go. Appreciate that. Thank you, Vanessa. Cool. So if, and I'm just following this one right here, in case you're wondering, if my guess is less than, and I'm going to put a space there just so I can see that, is less than number, remember, our number is whatever random number happens. So even as the coders, we don't know what it is. We just know that it's between 1 and 9. And we should probably tell the user that as well. Guess the number between 1 and 9, since they have no idea what the number is. What do we want them to say if it's too low?
You can say.
So if they're lower than our actual number that we're guessing, we're just going to say, hey, that's actually too low. And then we're going to do something very similar. Actually, let me just type the whole thing. We're going to say elif. That's not it. Same thing. Guess is greater than number. This time, if it's greater than, what am I going to print?
Print parentheses are too high.
There we go.
Yeah.
Too high. And back to what you were saying before, we're going to put in an else here as well. Now, does the else require a conditional statement?
No,
It's already in one.
Why not?
like Adita said, it's already there.
What's
You don't have
already
to
there?
do anything.
These are some good intuitive responses, but I want to make sure you understand the exact reason we're having this, or you don't need a conditional. So let me help you out. If my number is not less than, or my guess is not less than the number, or my guess is not greater than the number, what is my only other option if it's not less than or greater than?
It's between the range of numbers that you gave to the.
Did I hear you speaking, but you sound very low.
All right. It's already in the range between the numbers that the code is allowing me to guess between.
You're saying the right thing, but you're not quite as specific as we need right now. What about you, Vanessa? What do you think? Remember, if my guess is not less than and it's not greater than, what is my only other option?
Oh, it's equal to.
There you go. If it's not less than and it's not greater than, there's only one other possibility. It has to actually be the number we're looking for. And so in that case, we'll print, and right now we're following right here. Got it. And I'm going to put another line to print, and it only, took you. Now, we haven't gone over this kind of concatenation yet, but I'm just going to put in count, and I'm going to put in tries. So now, when we run our code, what didn't I work on? My if statement is off, apparently. I feel like my if statement is lined up with everything else. Or maybe it's because of this one right here is misaligned. No, that's not it. Let's fix it. Everything was just working perfectly. If you are getting errors in your code, what should you be doing to debug, by the way?
Run it and then look at the bottom and look at the line where it's at and then go back and fix it.
Absolutely. I'm not sure why I'm getting this error. Maybe it's because I didn't use parentheses on this. Let's see. And not that. Does anyone see where my error is? I don't.
Mr. Mosey, it may be a thing with the line above it.
19.
This one right here?
Yeah, like, no, line 18. Maybe you, like, maybe there was a, yeah.
Nah, there was nothing there.
Try
I
it
mean,
now.
it says line 19.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, it says 19, but a lot of times they actually mean like there's something above it that's off. This was working before I added this. Let me just double check one thing. So another technique that I use whenever I'm getting errors, I'll just comment out whatever the last thing I put in. If you push Control and then backslash, it'll comment everything that you highlight.
Oh, wow.
And so now I know that was the last thing that I put in. I'm going to run this now. So apparently it is working. And I know that the error has to be somewhere between lines 19 and 27. So I'm just going to uncomment that. And if you Control backslash again, it'll uncomment whatever you had commented. So those are some easy tools to use. Let me take out these now. Okay, that's not what I wanted. Let me take out these now and see if just the if statement will work. It shouldn't work because before this was the issue. Inconsistent tabs and indentation. All right. let's just make sure everything has one level of indentation, one level. This is on the same. All right.
Mr. Mosley, those 3 dots by the back to classroom thing,
Back
it
to
gives
classroom.
you like a settings where you can change if it's like
Oh, I
spaces
see.
that you're doing.
Um,
I remember that from last year that could solve the problem.
I will check it out after this. But one last thing I want to show you is like highlighting in the same way we did with commenting. You can push Shift and Tab, and that will like highlight or unindent everything. And then as I push Tab, or I should say, once I do this again, as I push Tab, it'll indent for me. So bringing everything in the while loop to the same level of indentation. And then I'm everything that I need to indent extra. So this is inside the if, so I'm gonna indent that. This guess and count are on the same level. This is inside an if, I'll indent that. Let's see if it runs now, and it does. So now when we're guessing, it's not telling us because these lines are actually indented out. So it should be telling me if it's too low though, right? Let's see, there we go, too low. Let's go to 5. That must be too high because we don't have that. And then the guess is 3, beautiful. Now let's add these last pieces right here. I'm gonna uncomment them. And I'm also gonna reset them like I did the other ones before, just to be consistent with it. Sometimes Python be tripping. Now everything's working. Cool, that's too low. 5 is it. Took me 2 tries.